Good evening and welcome to the work session business meeting of October 12th, 2023. We are going to be led in the pledge by Mrs. Nadell's fifth grade class, so please stand for the pledge. Wait a minute.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ooh, thank you. It's so much nicer than when I do it. Okay, I'd like to open it up for public comments on any of the listed agenda items.
My name is Miranda Zaki. I have a 9th grader and a 1st grader in our district. So this is in regards to consent agenda for newly appointed teacher assistant, Jessica Denike, Jeannie Denike's daughter. There is community concern that nepotism is occurring within our district.
Miranda, can you hold on real quick?
Sure.
Just a second. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And the community just wants to make sure that overseeing this teacher assistant, Jessica Denike, that nepotism is not occurring within our district.
Thank you. Sorry, I just want to be clear that while her mother does work in the district, her mother serves in no supervisory role over her day-to-day activities. So there is no direct correlation between those two. I just wanted to point that out for anyone in the public. Thank you.
The community is worried because nepotism is when you take someone's resume and move it to the highest level above all other resumes that have occurred. And the community wants to make sure that this did not occur. And that there is nobody else with more experience that has applied for that position.
Okay, we'll get back to you, Miranda. Thank you. Okay, then any other public comments? Then I'd like to move to the consent agenda.
Resolved to approve the consent agenda, items 2 through 8, as presented to the board at this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Tonight's consent agenda includes approval of the prior meeting minutes. We're approving additional work hours for various staff members. We're amending the start date for a newly appointed teaching assistant. We're doing a correction report for in-service credits and enhanced longevity. We're approving an updated 23-24 substitute listing, amending dates for leave replacement teacher, and we're accepting 2 generous donations from the PTA, one for arts and education in the amount of $3,605.80, and an additional PTA donation of $4,550 that will go towards the 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We do thank the PTA for their generous donations and for the parents that support and community members that support the PTA through their donations. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The consent agenda is accepted. We're going to start now with we have new board members. We have 3 new board members. Our student reps are here tonight. We are so excited to have them here. Reese Emery, Charles Garcia, and Kiara Mule.
Muley.
Oh, but it doesn't show. Okay. Thank you for correcting. So we're just really excited. I told them before, I was going to ask them to give us a little, like, tell us a little bit about yourself, just kind of like what you're interested in so that, the community kind of knows your focus, maybe, or what it is that you like to do, so.
Yeah, just speaking to that.
My name is Reese.
You can bend it towards you.
Oh.
There you go.
I'm a senior. My hobbies or interests, I'm really into theater and acting in general, and I hope to pursue a career in acting for film and television.
My name is Charles Garcia. I'm also a senior. I do a few things. I'm also very passionate in theater. I've been involved in that for a very long time. I play 3 varsity sports throughout the year, and I hope to pursue a career in culinary arts in the future and go to school for that as well.
All right, cool, cool.
Okay.
I'm Kira Muley. I'm interested in, I enjoy farming and such along those lines. I really like working with different livestock. And in the future, I plan to either go somewhere into the financial world or continue with something in an agricultural entity.
Cool.
Oh, that's really, great, and we're just really excited to have you here. We'll try to be nice, not ask you your too many opinions on any tough questions in the beginning. But we always are grateful to listen to the students' perspective, and so we're just really glad that you've joined us. Okay, we're going to do, we have 2 presentations tonight. We're going to start with Dave.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'd like to invite up David Kantrowitz, our Director of Athletics, Physical Education, and Nursing. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. Sorry.
I heard that field hockey was up 4-0. Is that a final score?
It's more now.
It's more now.
It's a great day to be a Tiger. So tonight is our field hockey senior night. It was a great celebration. We have 10 seniors. For those that don't know, field hockey is currently ranked number 1 in Section 1 in Class C. So we're counting down the last days of the regular season before we enter the playoffs. We're very excited. And this evening we celebrated 10 of our senior athletes that will be moving on to college next year. As far as the school year is concerned, we'll start with talking about our 23-24 PE initiatives. We've started our implementation year of the new New York State Learning Standards in Physical Education. We've implemented the Move to Improve curriculum at the elementary school, and we've started to revise and renew our K-12 curriculum, including our curriculum maps, our lesson plan template, and a realignment of our peer and self-assessments to match those new standards that have now been implemented by the state. So a little bit about Move to Improve. They are activities that help schools meet the New York State physical education requirements. As you may or may not know, grades K through 3, we are required to have physical education every day in the classroom. It's very difficult to do so, making sure that all of our students reach all of their other subject matter. And the Move to Improve curriculum allows our classroom teachers to integrate physical activity into the learning activities that are already occurring. The curriculum provides a variety of activities for our teachers to use. Many of our teachers are already doing these things. This just helps align the activities that are already taking place in our classroom with the standards and the compliance needs of physical education in the state of New York. What you see now in front of you is a sample of our new elementary school curriculum map. It outlines the activities that are taking place during the year, unit by unit. It includes some of the essential questions that we're trying to answer, but more importantly, our focus here has been on the standards that are addressed and the learning targets in each of those units and how they correlate to the new New York State standards. This is also an ongoing project throughout the year to make sure that we are matching every unit that we have to the new standards that we're presenting. Along with the curriculum map We've adopted a new lesson plan template, K through 12. The version that you see in front of you now actually comes from SUNY Cortland, which is one of our leading PE schools in the state. They have a very comprehensive lesson plan that covers everything from the psychomotor, affective, and cognitive domains to various fitness objectives, correlation with the Common Core, and it also has direct relations to the standards, both at the state level and the national level, and it follows through each activity, each transition, and each assessment activity that's taking place in class. This is just the second page of that lesson plan. It also includes the evaluation of a lesson and a place for reflection from the teacher, any notes, any things that may have gone well, may have gone poorly, and things that they may wish to change for the next time. The next document that you see is an example of one of our peer and self-assessments. We've identified that in performance-based classes like PE, one of the most meaningful and significant assessment tools we can use is peer assessment based on a teacher-provided rubric. This rubric allows a student in class to assess their peer over the course of 4 days of gameplay based on predetermined cues that have been set by the teacher and instructional information that we want to see the students be able to demonstrate for us. And on the back of this rubric, after the student receives their grade as far as the skill assessment is concerned, we also have a reflection writing assignment where we ask the student to reflect on the grade that they received in their skill assessment and cite examples from the rubric and evidence from their time in gameplay to support their response, whether they're advocating for or against their grade. Moving over to health education, we do have a number of new initiatives there as well. Within our health advisory committee, we are working on building a stronger relationships with the Communities That Care Coalition. We are working on finalizing the schedule now to make sure that we have representatives from our Putnam Valley Health Advisory Committee present at the Communities That Care meetings, and making sure that when possible we can have their representatives with us as well. Again, through the Health Advisory Committee, we are planning a new rendition of the Narcan safety and training for the school community. Last year, we offered it in-house to our staff during Professional Development Day. It was a big hit. We had lots of positive feedback, so we're working on expanding that for this school year. And the last thing that we're working on right now at the Health Advisory Committee is a quarterly newsletter that some of you may have already seen that went out earlier this week, focusing on various aspects of school health, athletics, physical education, nutrition, technology, anything that we feel can help strengthen the community and the students that we serve. In athletics, we've implemented mental health training for coaches. This is not a state-required certification that coaches have, but it is now a Putnam Valley required certification that we mandate because we identified the need for mental health training for our coaches and awareness of the struggles and difficulties that our student athletes and students at large may be facing. And we've had a lot of great feedback from our coaches so far, and it was really an enlightening experience seeing and learning what warning signs may be out there, what telltale signs you may see of depression, suicidal thoughts, whatever it may be, and having the skills and abilities to identify that and get our students help if needed. And last, we're working on a pilot of the Time Kettle WT2 translator earbuds, which I'll speak about in a few minutes in further detail. First, this is the training that we provide our coaches, the student mental health and suicide prevention. It focuses on the following areas of creating a wellness framework, student mental health, strength and anxiety, depression, suicide prevention, then it wraps it up and provides really all of the skills and knowledge that we need to help identify and prevent these things. The Time Kettle W2 Translator EarPods is something that I'm personally very excited about. I've heard great reviews about it, and just to summarize quickly what it is a translation device similar to an AirPod headphone that allows a teacher to translate in real time the words that they are saying in class to the native language of an English language learner who has not yet developed the skills possible to fully immerse in the educational curriculum. It's been piloted in a number of different schools. Closest to us is the Pine Bush School District over in Orange County with great results. It provides real-time translation into over 40 languages. And in addition to the translation, when we put the software on the student's phone or on their computer or tablet, it also provides them with a written translation both in their native language, the assigned language, and in English, so they can start making those connections and help progress them in their language development as they immerse in our educational culture. And last but certainly not least, our athletic summary. We'll review the 22-23 school year, some of the data from the fall registration, some exciting news that we have regarding our coaches, some highlights from this season, and then a few changes and special events that we have coming up. The first, to summarize 2022 and 23, we had 85 student athletes that earned all league honors, 21 went on to earn additional all section honors, and 6 of our teams earned scholar athlete team designation, which meant over 75% of the student athletes on that team maintained an average of 90 or above. We had 4 athletes win individual section championships. We had 3 teams win section championships. 2 teams earn all-state recognition, and 2 athletes earned individual all-state honors. And at the end of last school year in June, we had 1 award night and Hall of Fame induction to celebrate them all, the past, present, and the future of our program. Looking at this year so far, what you see in front of you is a 3-year chart of fall sport registration from 2021 to today. Our registration has been maintained relatively consistently over the past 3 years. We see some sports rise, some sports fall, but the overall difference in registration from 2017 to now is only 1. So it's been very consistent. Where we've seen a lot of growth is at the middle school level, the modified sport level. We've seen tremendous growth in boys soccer in the past year. Volleyball has continued to grow, and our field hockey numbers remain the highest of any of the regions around us and any of the local school districts. And you see, looking across the bottom, we've really grown by about 10% every year, going from 90 in 2021 up to 110 this fall. So we're very excited for the growth that we're experiencing in our program. And as far as our coaching goes, this has been the first time, at least since I've been here, that we've been able to successfully put our own Putnam Valley staff inside every program, which was one of the major initiatives that I had when I came on board here at Putnam Valley, because the people that work here, the people that teach our kids, are the people that have the most face time with them and can build those relationships and really strengthen those bonds and help advance the educational and extracurricular process. So just looking through quickly, at cross country, we have Coach Scampoli. At cheerleading, we have Coach Wilson and Dodona. At field hockey, we have Coach Parchin and Turner. Football, we have Coach Elsasser in England. At boys soccer, we have Coach Deegan and DeSiena. Girls soccer, Coach Trainer and Shaloub. And in volleyball, we have Coach Bruno and Coach Anderson. So in every one of our programs, at some level here in the district, we do have a full-time Putnam Valley employee involved in the program, which has been really great to see. So far this fall, like I said before, our field hockey team is ranked number 1 in Section 1 Class C. Our volleyball team is currently tied for 3rd place in Class B. Football is ranked number 10 in Class B, and girls soccer is ranked number 10 in Class B. We have 4 teams within the top 10, and as it's trending right now, we still have a few games left to play through this weekend, but we may be on track for having the first season where all of our teams in the fall qualify for postseason play, which is a great accomplishment and really a testament to our coaches and our student athletes. You may have noticed, if you've been trying to stream our home games, that we have a different provider for streaming services. We have transitioned from Local Live to Huddle TV. The reason for that is really twofold. One is that we saved a significant amount of money for the district by transitioning to this program. And 2 is that this program, in addition to allowing us to stream the events and see them live from home, it is a very interactive software that provides our coaches and students with analytics on every game. So once the game is recorded, the coaches see it in a separate portal where after they insert their roster, the the AI in the program can give them a full stat sheet of how many times someone passed the ball, how many possessions you lost, how many shots you took, how many minutes we had control. Really important data when it comes to practice planning and preparing for our games. It's been a big hit with our coaches. The streaming has been just as good as local lives was, and again, it gave us a pretty significant savings for the district. We have some special events coming up. Tomorrow is our homecoming game. We're looking forward to hosting Croton Harmon. We have a special guest with us for the homecoming game as well. We'll have a special guest coach, Mario Manningham of the New York Giants. We'll be walking our boys down the hill and coaching in the first quarter. He'll hang around to sign autographs and take pictures after that. We're super excited to have him. Our kids have had some really phenomenal opportunities the last few years to meet professional players, and we're looking forward to it again tomorrow. For those of you who are around, the game starts at 6 o'clock. We're going to have a senior recognition ceremony for the football boys and the cheerleading girls right before that, 5:30, 5:45. And then hopefully, by the time it's all over, we have another win on the books. And a week from tomorrow, we have our annual First Responder Appreciation Day. That's at another football game that we're hosting against Rhinebeck. The game starts at 6, and the appreciation ceremony is going to start at 5:30. We hope that any and all of our first responders around the district, students, adults, parents, or otherwise, show up. We'd love to have you in uniform and recognize everything that you do for our community. And of course, like I said before, it's always a great day to be a Tiger. I'm always happy to be here. And if you didn't get the email from me earlier this afternoon, one of our students, Eduardo Racinos, has been nominated for the Heart of the Giant Award, which is a major, major athletic award sponsored by USA Football and the New York Giants, provided to students who demonstrate grit, determination, consistency, commitment, and really all of the values that we hope to see here in our student athletes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments?
Yeah.
I got to tell you, David, just outstanding on every level, but most especially getting our own people to coach these teams. That is a tremendous, tremendous jump forward. When I was here 6, 7 years ago, it was pulling teeth trying to get the staff to, participate. They had other things, I guess, young families, whatever it might be. But it was very tough, and we had to pull people from the outside. And for me, to have somebody that you see during the day, in the afternoon now coaching those teams, that is terrific, and kudos to you and your tenacity to get that to happen, really, very impressive.
Thank you.
David, I mentioned this to you yesterday, and I just want to say it publicly. Excuse me, a number of us were on your interview committee, and it's great to see what you stated in your interview committee, during your interview, was just not words, it was actions, and you followed through to what you're doing now in Putnam Valley, and I truly appreciate that, so thank you.
Thank you.
You took exactly what I was going to say.
I had said to Dave when I saw him last night that I really appreciated his Health Advisory Committee article.
Yep.
I thought it was, well written. This one was focused on athletics, but, there are lots of different topics to come. And it's nice to see that it's not just sports, but it's health. Mental health, physical health, overall health. And, there were good points. So, I advised parents, it really did not take that long to read through it. Cute pictures. Thank you for that. So, Dr. Luff, did you want to add something?
So I had jotted down 4 things throughout your presentation, and to Ms. Yetter's point, there were 4 things I distinctly remember you mentioning during your interview for this position only a few short years ago. You talked about the importance of having in-district coaches and the opportunities they had to encourage students to participate in the direct relationship that has with number of students who sign up to participate in sports. I think it was only a few short years ago we struggled to field the field hockey team. You got Ms. Parshin to come back and coach, and now we're the number 1 seed in Section C after losing the sectional championships last year for a team that barely existed only a few short years ago without an in-district coach. You talked about the importance of having sports awards and finding ways to honor our students. so we can check that off after holding the first ever sports awards last year. You talked about the importance of establishing a Hall of Fame, and that's something we're now in the process of inducting at the end of this year, our second class into the Hall of Fame. And he talked about the importance of making student attendance or any community attendance at sporting events a community event. And since then, I know we've created T-shirt cannons and mascots and all kinds of other opportunities to engage the community. So I do want to compliment all of the work you've done in a very short period of time to bring our athletics program and our physical education and all of our programs to the next level. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stick around with us, David. Please.
Not going anywhere.
Good. That's good to hear.
What are you trying to say, Sam? Where are you worried he's going to go?
Thank you.
All right, our next presentation this evening is going to be our middle school update. So I'd like to invite up Mr. McCarty, Ms. Zecca, who will be shortly joined by two special guests, Ms. Mary Kay Cohen and Ms. Stephanie Trichala. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Travis McCarty. I have the pleasure of being the principal of Putnam Valley Middle School, and I'm joined here by my assistant principal, Ms. Jamie Zecca. So one of our goals this year, as you can see up above, is embracing change. We've had a great deal of change at our middle school. Since last year, we have a number of new staff members on board and changing population of students as well in our building. So we're embracing that change. We're building relationships as always, because first and foremost, you have to have wonderful relationships with your students and your staff before they learn anything. And of course, continuing to form positive climate and culture. So to start this evening, I want to thank all of those that made our year possible and continue to make our year possible from the ground up. I can't tell you how much work our custodians do over the course of the summer, and they have our schools looking just tremendous to start the school year. If you're there all summer, you see what has to take place to get it looking in pristine condition. Our bus drivers who transport our kids back and forth to school, I always say that's the first face they see in the morning as they step onto that bus, and the last they see in the afternoon where the kids have a lot of energy. It's a classroom space in which they need to behave appropriately before they step off their bus. To our cafeteria workers, our monitors, our office personnel, safety personnel, which we're very lucky this year to have an SPO in our building, which has been a tremendous addition. To our teachers, our teaching assistants, and of course, our technology department, who make it all possible. So thank you to all, and thank you to our board, of course. So I promised not to read this extensive list, but I did want to mention what we did as a middle school last year. So if you look and see how many events that take place over the course of a school year, they're 10 months. And tremendous thank you to our Education Foundation, to our PTA, to our Hope for Youth Foundation, to our arts. Just a tremendous amount goes into our entire year. And I think and I hope that our students continue to know that much of these ideas come from them. Our student staff Olympics, our student staff volleyball games, our spring fling, our student talent show. Like, these are all ideas that came from within and that we continue to foster and grow. Our Washington, D.C. trip, we're planning our third as we know it. We're up to 61 students signed up already. We hope that 137 go. That's always our goal, to get everyone. But we're up to 61 so far, and we hope to grow that number. We're going to post this on our website, but one thing that's unique about the middle school is, and I hope I don't mess everything up, you can actually see our year by clicking here. So one of the things that we do is, this is kind of a timeline of our entire year. So this was last year. If you want to reminisce on what our students did last year, you can scroll through this entire list, and it's a year in photos. And that's kind of something unique that we do at the middle school, and we have a list from this year as well. So you can see from September all the way through today, and thank you to our teachers and our other staff members that take pictures of kids in action, because it's kind of a microscope into what we do on a day-to-day basis. And you know, when families aren't always in the classrooms all the time, this is a nice way to see what your children are doing. Not bad for a year in review. So in looking at our academics, our embargoed state assessment scores just came out. So we are starting to dive into that work, but we do absolutely have our iReady benchmark assessments, which for those of you that aren't aware, we do a benchmark assessment in September, we do one in February, and then we do a final one in late May. And if you take a look at our growth, these are our results from fall to spring. And here we have our reading results. So we started off the year with 35% of our fifth graders being on grade level or above, and 33% being multiple grade levels below. And this number right here, this 33%, is those kids just below grade level. We finished the year at 58% being above grade level or on grade level, 25% approaching, and we got our number down to 18% that were multiple grade levels below. So a nice growth for fifth grade. Sixth grade, we started off with 42%. We finished the year with 63%. 29% that were multiple grade levels below, and 19% that were multiple grade levels below. Seventh grade, we increased from 46% to 53%, with 30% starting the year multiple grade levels below, 26% finishing the year. And then eighth grade, starting the year at 45% multiple, couple grade levels above or on grade level, and finishing the year at 60%. So we see that growth over the course of the school year. And actually, this week we brought in trainers to work with our teachers to be able to address this data even more closely and to work at how to assign iReady instruction to those kids. And actually, this is only our second year working with our 7th and 8th graders during their IE class, in which they're fully immersed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, in which they will do 1 day of math, they will do 1 day of reading. And the interesting part about this is it finds the area for growth and it focuses on that. So if they're strong in an area, it doesn't quite focus on their strengths, it focuses on areas of struggle or areas for growth for them. So we're doing that 2 days a week in 7th and 8th grade. And as we have historically done in 5th and 6th grade, we actually do it 4 days a week during their IE classes. This is our math results for the year. You're going to see tremendous gains in our math results here. You'll see 5th grade started at 29% on grade level or above. In 5th grade, 71% to finish the year. We have 39% to start the year in 6th grade, finish the year at 75%. 28% in 7th grade, up to 44%, and 35% to start the school year in 8th grade, increased up to 56%. So we're showing growth, and of course, there's ways to show this data. I always think of Guy Cohen when we talk about presenting data. He always said to me, Travis, we can show data any way possible. And I know we can break this down to show it other ways as well. And actually the people who are here from iReady told us to even focus on those that are multiple grade levels below and to show how they grew. This doesn't really do it justice because there's growth within those colored areas. And I think it's important to know that these students we're providing supports for, okay? We provide AIS reading, We provide AIS math. We provide, in some cases, Wilson instruction. So we kind of give a formula for those students with needs. And one of our goals this year, Mrs. Zecca and I, really looking at those high flyers that we want to enrich. And we want to find other ways to enrich those students. And Mrs. Parmalee was at an event a couple weeks ago in which I will talk more about for Destination Imagination, but we're always looking for ways to spark their interest, to get them to go further. And the nice part about iReady is it tells us on which level those students are. Like right now I'm thinking of a student in our building who walks around with a book in her hand all the time. She's on a 10th grade reading level. So how do you enrich a student that's in 7th grade and bring them further when they're on a 10th grade reading level? Those are the challenges that we face, and we don't want to bring her down. We want to continue to challenge her. So those are some of the puzzles that we continue to try to improve upon and enrich her and challenge her. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Zecca.
As a newbie, I brought notes, so it keeps me focused and organized. As the assistant principal, I'm in charge of New York State testing in our building, and one of the major changes that we have this year is our grades 5 and 8 will be doing computer-based testing. So that's also called CBT. With regard to science, grades 5 and 8 will also be taking computer-based testing, but in addition to that, grades 5 and 8 are also doing 4 lab investigations. So what that looks like is our teachers in grades 5 and 8 are preparing our students for those science exams by doing labs on specific contents in the classroom. We're trying to work with our teachers, because this is completely new to us, on what is the impact on our students with doing these 4 labs in 5th and in 8th grade, as well as what challenges they're facing in the classroom. As you know, time always is something that we want more of. So teachers are navigating their time, they're making sure that these labs are done, they're documenting this, and we have to house the labs in-house to make sure that we have all this documentation for New York State. Tomorrow I'm going to a training on CBT, so I will make sure that if you have questions that I ask. I'm hoping to learn a lot more tomorrow, so I could bring it back into the building to assist teachers in best supporting our students.
Janie, the grades not 5th and 8th, so 6th and 7th, they will...
So right now we're implementing all 4 labs in 5th grade and all 4 labs in 8th grade.
Okay.
So it was kind of like a brand new New York State mandate. It was like, get it done, so we're getting it done. But again, the content specifically will be on their test at the end of the year. So in theory, it makes sense that teachers are going through this process with the students. Having it far removed is difficult for kids to recall, hey, what lab did I do in 6th grade and how do I remember that? We are trying to work with teachers to figure out and how to navigate it, maybe in a more creative way in the future. But for this year, all 4 labs will be in grade 5 and in grade 8.
Okay.
And regarding the state assessments, New York State has moved grades 5 to 8 electronically next year. They're sort of forcing 5 and 8 to computer-based testing, and then they have a plan to transition in the remaining grade levels over the next 3 years.
So 6th and 7th will take
paper exams,
paper,
3rd and 4th will be paper, 5th and 8th will be...
4th and 6th will take the CBTs next year. So this year, this state test will be the 5 and 8. Next year will be 4 and 6, and the following year will be grades 3 and 7. So it's a phased-in process. We have the option to go completely CBT if we like, but if not, the state has given this phase-in option, which we're taking, so it'll give us time to give our youngest students time to really hone their keyboarding skills in preparation for CBT.
Trial by error, right? We're going to try it out and see how it goes, and hopefully work specifically with the teachers in grades 5 and 8 to make sure that whatever challenges our kids are facing, that we're rolling it into the next phase of the grades that will take it for next year. So we had a really successful start to the year. As you know, our 5th and 6th grade comes in first. We have a staggered start. This year we also had our new 7th and 8th graders, which we have had an influx of new students each week. They came in early and they were also able to peruse the school, get acclimated with our school, as well as to do their locker combinations, which seems to be the biggest challenge for our newer students. The next day, we had our 7th and 8th graders come in. And one thing that we had talked about over the summer was kind of allocating specific wings per grade level. So we have a 7th grade wing, we have an 8th grade wing. Our 6th grade is predominantly on the 2nd floor, but because of student to locker ratio, some of our 6th grade is also on the 2nd floor in a specific area. And what we found is that it does impact transitions, it does impact transition times, it does impact where students are and how they're navigating. So far it's been really successful in having these kind of almost like wings of where students' lockers are. What we have found specifically with our 6th grade students who seem to be a little bit more, they get a little bit more nervous opening their lockers. They have their teachers right outside of where their lockers are to kind of jump in when it's needed. And I want to thank our summer support, our 2 secretaries, as well as our custodians who helped me kind of reprogram locks, and really get things set up for our students, which was an endeavor that I was not sure of how actually long and laborious it was. So I do appreciate all of their help. On September 8th, we had our first community meeting in the PAC, and it was wonderful to have all the students in one location and hearing the same message. And our continued message is going to be to embrace change, to build relationships, to build a community that's positive in a climate and culture, again, of positivity. So students were able to hear some of those messages. We're also branding our school with IB, so every conversation that we have with students will be IB-based. Students during this community meeting also heard about the learner profile. It was something that we actually put in the very beginning. They were able to hear about it. We kind of went through the process of here are our learner profiles, here's the attributes, and then we're trying to just market it and brand it everywhere in our building as well as every time we're talking to students. Back to Mr. McCarty.
All right, so on the heels of our community meeting, we had our student government elections. So just so everyone's aware, any student in the building can be a member of student council, but we have a few students that run for positions of student government, and they represent each grade level. So this is a nice picture of Mrs. Lavarnway and Mrs. Diaz with our elected students. So congratulations to those 8th grade co-presidents, Zoe Tasato and Vienna Totita. Our 7th grade senators, Sam Riley and Trevor Specht. 6th grade representatives, Leah Cron and Brendan Keeler. And our 5th grade representatives, Adam Davino and Ariana DePillo. So nice picture of them. I tell you, they're busy at work already. I attended their student government meeting bright and early at 7 a.m. on Tuesday. They're planning our Halloween bash, coming up with some new ideas, new fresh ideas this year to get more involvement from our upper grade levels. We typically see good involvement from 5th and 6th graders, but our 7th and 8th graders, as Dave mentioned, we have a growing modified sports teams. So a lot of those kids are ingrained in their sports. So sometimes there's a conflict with student government, but we hope to get them out. I believe it's Friday the 27th. It's the Friday before Halloween, so it'll be a nice event and the first in which our student government plans, and we're looking forward to those new ideas to get more interest from our students. And by the way, congratulations to all who ran. I know it takes a lot of courage to stand up in front of a microphone. So a couple Tuesdays ago, we had our Destination Imagination Interest Evening. We had around 20 students who attended, as well as our very own Barbara Parmalee. And Joshua Diamond ran the evening. And I tell you what, when I thought of Destination Imagination, I recall a few teachers back in the day who would run these groups, and I kind of associated it with like Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, and there were competitions, and there were a lot of families involved. These challenges were amazing, and the interest from those in kindergarten, my son may have been dragged to this evening, all the way up through the adults who were participating and so competitive. I mean, I was listening to them thinking of how to create their projects and how to earn the most points. And, you know, we're really looking for more parent interest to lead these teams. And I know there are teams of 7. And if anyone is interested, please reach out to myself, Mrs. Parmalee. We passed out contact cards for Joshua Diamond, but I just spoke to a 6th grader today, and he said to me, I have 4 people. I need 3 more to get my team of 7. Who do I contact when I have that? I said, me. And by the way, I don't know if you need 7 total, but at most 7. So it would be, we're really looking to have those families who attended this evening to reach out to us so that we can help get this going, because I think we start one team, it'll grow. And there's local competitions, and then it's regional, and then, you know, there's larger competitions. But there were even students from other districts who came to help out this evening, and one of the competitions was to create a shoe using just a pile of materials. And then they had to create a tower and measure the tower and tip it over to see that it stayed within that box on the table. So really thoughtful things were accomplished in a very short amount of time. And, you know, thank you to Barbara for coming for this evening. And really, we want to get this going because these are our future engineers. These are our future IB students. Like, you really have to think on your feet to be able to create in a short amount of time, and to work together as a team is vital. Clubs. So I stand up here every year and I talk about clubs because I think they're important. We talk about the whole child. And we have, you know, some reoccurring clubs throughout the years. And then we also have some new clubs. So one of the new clubs this year is our game board club, which you'll see here a few students playing chess. That's run by Mrs. Nadell. So I'm not going to go through the list of clubs, but I tell you, when you hear about Mrs. Parching coaching our varsity field hockey team, you know where it begins, right? There's our field hockey club that starts in 5th grade, in addition to, you know, travel sports and such. But we have high interest in all of these clubs, and we hope to continue to run them. And it really makes the whole child. So we're always looking for input from those students as to starting new clubs. Of course, if we don't have enough students, we try to average 10 or so. Then some of those clubs go away over time. But we really see a lot of our 5th and 6th graders interested. A few clubs run before school, which we need transportation. Many of our clubs run after school. And I did hear our jewelry club will hopefully be at our Halloween bash this year, making necklaces and bracelets with themes so that the kids can gain more interest in jewelry club and create crafts while they're at that event. But again, jewelry club also runs Friday mornings at 7 a.m. So anyone can join at that time. Back to Ms. Secca.
So this year, our students have the opportunity to actually go to the Taconic Outdoor Education Center. And the idea came out of our building steering committee, which we're looking for members. So anybody that has a middle school child, please come and join us. We do need parents' input. And because we are looking to build relationships and build community, parents are part of our community, and we want them to be part of our planning for activities such as this. I want to specifically thank and acknowledge Ms. Denise Hajkowski, who was instrumental in not only booking, but organizing, doing all the paperwork for the trip, but she also sustained a grant that paid for the entire program as well as for lunch for all of our students. So right now, we've only had our 7th and 8th grade students attend the trip. TOEC split our kids in half. They said they would get the most impact out of the team building activities with half the population. And thanks to Mrs. Hajkowski, we were able to really receive valuable feedback from our students, our 7th and 8th graders, and we're hoping to see our 5th and 6th graders have the same amazing time. We have a new addition to our school, which we're so excited to have, Ms. Miranda Hochberg. She is our library media specialist. And since Miranda's been in our school for the past 7 weeks, she's really created an engaging, student-centered, friendly and inviting, warm, really interactive place for our students to come to. She has taken the reins of decorating and rearranging and creating interactive bulletin boards. She's really been an amazing asset to our school. She not only is going to partner with teachers, she's pushing into classes. She runs her IE class out of the Learning Commons. She's open during recess, so students who don't necessarily want to go outside have the opportunity to sit there, to read, to use technology, to play games, to communicate with one another. So it's just another alternative for our kids to really have the opportunity to engage in that area. So we're so happy to have her, and she's been a tremendous asset to our building.
So I just want to talk real quick a little bit about Ms. Hochberg as well, because the board may be wondering how we're going to utilize her in the near future. So our goal, if some of you might remember, we utilized our library media specialist in the past in a way in which they taught research. And we made this a choice for a couple years ago to our 8th graders, and then due to some scheduling conflicts, we made it a choice for our 7th graders. But our hope is to weave Ms. Hochberg to work with all of our students, 5 through 8. And what we want to do is sprinkle a little bit of research skills starting in 5th grade as the foundation, and then spiral it. By the time they're in 8th grade, they're going to be very prepared for the high school and the research in which they will embark upon. So we're going to utilize her during our IE periods, and we've already connected her with our teachers on some of their projects. And I know some of the work she's done so far is looking at resources. You know, is this a reputable site? Is this a reputable resource? How do I identify something that's just been created by, you know, a student out there, and it doesn't have as much credibility as some other sources? Because as we all know, you can search anything on the internet and think it's true. I hear that often from 8th graders, but I saw it on the internet. It's got to be true. And it's not. You got to check your resources. So she is a tremendous asset to our building, and she's done great work so far, so we look to continue to see her growth. So as I've presented on, or as we've presented on in the last few years, we do have a growing E&L population, but I want to also welcome our new E&L teacher to the middle school, Ms. Ribeiro, who actually works, she starts her day in the middle school and she ends her day in the middle school, and in between, she gets to visit the elementary school. So that's really cool. She gets to see, you know, students in both buildings. And Mrs. Methon's kind of grounds us. She's a leader, boy. She has been working with our E&L population for a number of years, and she's helped us to develop a schedule which we don't have to change every time we have a newcomer. So we have 25 L's at the middle school at this time, and you can see all the countries in which they come from. So very lucky to have great personnel and a growing L population. So I know the board asked a little bit about, our population of students from the elementary schools. So I wanted to highlight Ms. Turiano's class and all of the great work that is happening in that space, from our sensory room to our manipulatives. And I know that Ms. Turiano actually recorded her students saying the pledge. So Dan, we've got you for December. I will share with you that pledge video that she shared with me. I knew tonight was already taken. So just wanted to highlight certain aspects. I know that Ms. Turiano runs a coffee cart throughout the year. She also asks her students to survey our staff members, typically on Fridays. And as you can see in the lower right-hand corner, last week was recognition of our custodians and all the great work they do. So a nice picture of our custodians in the building, our cleaners, evening cleaners, with our students. So just a tremendous job Ms. Turiano's done, and a kudos to our students and all the growth that they've shown. So I know this is a highlighted slide, being the bright yellow. Ongoing opportunities and events, just to talk a little bit about some of the events that have occurred this year and some things that we'd like to highlight. So our back to school nights for 5th, 6th, and 7th and 8th grade were well attended. I always like to say we listen to the public. So our 7th and 8th grade families, we tried something new since COVID. We tried to separate our 7th grade teachers and our 8th grade teachers, have our 8th grade teachers be in our dining hall, our 7th grade teachers be in our gymnasium, and have all the teachers present kind of at the same time, giving a similar message. Well, the feedback from the public was, we're sitting for 2 hours and I can't feel my legs. Can we move around your building? We'd really like to see the middle school. So we heard you. So we went back to the old bell schedule, which for me was a little bit challenging because they only sit for 10 minutes in a space. But the really cool part is they got to see all their children's classrooms and hear from all their students' teachers separately on an 8-day schedule. So we got very positive feedback about it. And I find that by the time the 7th and 8th grade families come around, they're like, we already know the middle school, but please keep coming out. Keep coming to these events. Never stop being a part of your child's education. We want you at all of our events. So we did adjust our back to school night for our 7th and 8th grade, and we will continue to do that moving forward on that bell schedule. Parent-teacher conferences. For those of you who are new to the middle school, we don't follow parent-teacher conferences like the elementary school model does. We ask parents to reach out to us to schedule meetings, and I always say, don't wait to schedule those meetings until there's a challenging grade or a problem or an issue. Please, if you want your child's teachers to know more about your child, schedule a time to come in and meet with them and just say, my child is this type of learner, my child is that type of learner. We encourage you to reach out to the team leaders and come in. We will adjust our schedules, and we have set times that our teachers meet daily where they can meet parents to just hear about your child as a learner. So please reach out to those team leaders. Wednesday and Friday dress themes have started. I always look forward to Fridays being, it's always a great day to be a tiger. So I wear my Putnam Valley gear on Fridays. It's always nice to support our teams and our school. And on Wednesdays, we just had our first dress theme, which was autumn flannel. Try looking in your closet for a flannel shirt. I know that many people have them, but I have very little flannel, so I did my best. And our student government actually runs those theme days. So we started those themes for the entire year. Student of the Month breakfasts will be occurring at the end of this month, and I know Ms. Cohen and Mr. Kala are going to talk a little bit about how we've woven in IB and our 10 learner profile attributes to our Student of the Month nominations this year. Really cool magnets to put on your cars for those students that are nominated. And encore class opportunities. We continue to grow our encore options. One of the big changes this year was general music in 5th grade. We found that the students coming from the elementary school had a good foundation, but when they got to 5th and 6th grade, that vocabulary that goes along with music and researching those musicians in history can only strengthen your ability in band and music. So Mr. Soprano actually runs that general music program. And now it's nice because instead of spending so much time on the vocabulary that goes along with it, you can play more music in band. So it just helps to support our music program as a whole. We'll talk a little bit more mid-year about some other opportunities that we see with our foreign language moving forward into next year. So I already spoke about Ms. Hockman and the research and reliable source lessons that she's providing. So ongoing work. How do we fit it all into a day and all into a year? So we are big on data-driven instruction. So we have already met with various grade levels in many different departments, and we've woven into our professional meetings a data meeting that we have every 3 weeks with our staff members. So we look at our New York State assessment results, our iReady benchmarks, our DRAs, our local assessments, and identify students' needs and to guide their instruction. As I said before, we brought in our consultants for iReady, and we made those positive changes. With our multi-tiered systems of support, we're looking specifically this year on discipline in middle school. So our goal is always to reduce suspensions, because even though there are consequences that are tied to actions, our goal is to help to mediate and to help find the root cause and to help guide students as to making better choices so that doesn't continue. Because you can provide discipline and then have that student enter into the population and do the same exact thing over and over again. Our goal is not to continue to suspend. Our goal is to teach and to learn and to grow. So we're working with our staff on, and ourselves administratively, on Tier 1 interventions and alternatives to suspension. And if you hear anything based on New York State, that's a tremendous goal of New York State is, I would say it takes a village to figure out what works best. Social emotional learning, we're connecting this into everything that we do, focusing on words that matter, and our student support suite has been tremendous. Our psychologist, our new school counselor, Ms. Ortiz, and of course, Ms. Bale, our school social worker. And targeted reading and writing instruction, we're starting to see good growth in our 5th grade with our guided reading last year. We got started right away with our DRAs in assessing where students are as readers, and they've already started their guided reading practice. So tremendous kudos to our 5th grade. They're using Fontes and Pinella guided reading, and we continue to see growth in that area. And again, our 2 new coordinators will be talking about IB, MYP. So, enrollment at Putnam Valley Middle School. So just before I get started, you're going to see a decline in our enrollment because last year, or I should say this year, starting in September, we sent 130 students over to the high school, and we welcomed in 82 5th graders. So that's a difference of around 50 students, and boy, you can feel it in the middle school. It actually feels very comfortable. And we had a tremendous start to the school year, I tell you. You wouldn't believe how those kids were during our community meeting. I was like, if you're this well behaved all year, it's gonna be a wonderful year, and it sure has been thus far. So you're gonna see a decline of 40 students. We're currently at 439. But I tell you, Ms. Zecca was mentioning this before. I feel like every week we're welcoming in new students. There's someone new enrolled, and for some reason, a lot of them keep going into 8th grade. That's a growing class. So we need some more 5th graders. So we need to tell families that. If you look at our enrollment in fourth grade, those fourth graders coming over next year, there's 136. So there's a huge difference between our current fifth grade and that fourth grade that we're going to welcome in. The year after that, there's 130, and the year after that, there's 100. So not too concerned with our growing numbers coming up, although it will need to make some adjustments on certain grade levels as that group of 82 comes through, next year being in sixth grade, the following year seventh, and after that eighth. So that does have staffing implications, but we've been creative. I will turn this over to Ms. Secca.
So I don't have the data, but I have all the community building slides, which is wonderful because this is like my aim. I love relationships. I love relationship building. And some of our new staff have been instrumental in creating some of these opportunities for our students. I also want to thank the PTA specifically. They've been spectacular. The PTA has their anti-bullying laser show tomorrow. So our 7th and 8th graders will go over at 8 a.m. And then our 5th and 6th graders will go at 9 a.m. over here to the PAC. And it's a kickoff to Red Ribbon Week. It's not necessarily in Red Ribbon Week, but this is the time that we can get our laser light show going. The PTA is also sponsoring an inspirational and motivational speaker next week, and they're also running our Scholastic Book Fair. So we have lots of events that are sponsored by our PTA, and thank them anytime that you see them because they have been so instrumental in providing our students with lots of opportunities, and they impact everything that they're doing. Miss Melody Ortiz has been instrumental in helping us with our Red Ribbon Week. Our theme this year is Be Kind to Your Mind and Live Drug Free. And she's also helped to organize our First Responder Equipment and Apparatus Day. I also want to thank Deputy Goodman and Officer Sillo for arranging for the cadets to come and meet our 8th graders. We are always welcome to new opportunities for our students. Last but not least, our own student government is running our Halloween bash, getting those decorations ready. I believe the PTA is also helping out with some of that. And thank you to our jewelry club for creating some charms and bracelets and things for our students. So within our building, we're always looking for ways to impact our students. And with our theme of building community, these are some opportunities for our students to take part in.
Okay, so continuing with community, like I said, you can take a look at our year in images by clicking on that link there. I won't go there. I'll let you take a look at that on your own time. But that's right on our website, right under the 3 pictures on our homepage. So please take a look at our year thus far. Just some of the things that are going to be happening this year, and I won't read them all, but one of the big changes this year that we decided to bring back because it's been absent in the last few years is our art, music, and technology show, which some of our students here sitting on the board attended. I remember the great talent we have before us. And we actually run a class called Digital Music now. Our 8th graders who don't take band or chorus have the option to take digital music where they create their own music. So we thought it would be a wonderful time where you link technology and music together. So those students will be presenting at this art, music, and technology show to show off their talents. New as well, we started it last year after a few years, is our International Potluck Dinner. And our PVMS musical this year is Anastasia. And I know Ms. Kraus and Ms. Kron have been finding their cast members for that. And the rest that I've listed there, we've run the last few years, including that talent show. We're always looking for more students interested in sharing their talents. And I know Ms. Sherwood has been wonderful in recording those as well. So those who don't want to get up on the stage, we may be able to record their skits to then show up on stage. And at this time, I'd like to welcome up our IB coordinators, Miss Mary Kay Cohen and Stephanie Tricala.
Good evening. So to start off, becoming an MYP IB, Middle Years Program, International Baccalaureate, part of the process is to rebrand the middle school. So on our Superintendent's Conference Day in September, administrators, teachers, teacher assistants, and staff came up with creative street names to name specific wings, learning spaces, and areas in the building. So the outside area, right outside of our main office, will now be Principaled Place. Our beautiful Learning Commons will be known as Knowledgeable Nook. The Student Support Suite, where our guidance counselor, social worker, and psychologist is our Caring Corner. And on the map, you will find Balanced Court, which will be our gymnasium. We came up with wonderful street names, all related to the 10 learner profile attributes. And we are currently working on having those street signs made and will be hung up by our custodians around the building.
So we're going to use the learner profile attributes and within our building to incorporate that with our Student of the Month. So each month, the teachers are going to highlight a different learner attribute. You can see them up on the poster. That poster is actually hanging in our main hall at the middle school where you enter our building, and there's some other posters next to it giving more details about what each learner profile attribute is. And these attributes are the same attributes that we use in the high school in the diploma program. So the children are learning earlier about the learner profile attributes that are needed to become part of the diploma program at the high school. The unique part about the middle school, the middle years program, is that the entire community becomes part of the middle years program. Everybody is included. Everybody is learning about the learning profile attributes. Every teacher, every student in the building will be participating in units of study and approaches to learning that are involved with this framework. So that's one thing I really liked about it, that it's inclusive. It's not just for certain children or certain classes or for certain teachers to teach. Our whole building is really embracing it. So each month a teacher will highlight one attribute, and as Mr. McCarty referenced, we have a Student of the Month breakfast, and at that breakfast, Mr. McCarty and Ms. Secca and our clinical staff read awards that are given to the students. They're nominated by their teachers for various qualities, but this year we're going to actually talk about each profile every month. So this month we focused on principled, because when the students were introduced to this, that was the one word they were a little bit confused about. So that was the one we started with. And Ms. Tricala is going to tell you a little bit about how we're going to roll this out to our 5th graders, the students entering our building.
So the 5th grade, our new students into the building, and it's going to be that way every single year. So with the 5th grade teachers, I've been working with them, choosing picture books that are related to the 10 learner profile attributes. This past month for Principled, they read to the students A Bad Case of Stripes. Along with that read aloud, they did different activities with the students during the IE and advisory period. And that was one of the things, and you can see Mrs. Nadell reading to her students that book. So the students learned what Principled was. This month, the learner profile attribute is communicators. So the students will be reading books, and the teachers will be reading a read aloud to them based on what communicators is.
And so we did activities differently in each grade level. We're working with all the teams of teachers, Stephanie and I, at different times of the day, and we're really trying to get the teachers involved with coming up with their own ideas of how to implement this program. So the sixth graders, the sixth grade teachers came up with the idea of having the students research about the learning profile attributes, and they collaborated and created pictures, and they presented them to each other. There's 2 pictures of just kids sort of like working together. It's hard to go in and actually get the pictures when they're in action because of the different times of day, but they presented to each other during their advisory periods in the morning for about a week, and then each month the teachers are going to continue to focus on one of the attributes. In the 7th grade, the teachers showed students the learning attributes and asked them sort of which ones they identified with the most, and then in math class, they learned about what being principled means, and then you can see that little in the corner, they did a Padlet where they brainstormed in groups, and they put on the Padlet ideas for what it means to be principled. So we're finding ways to incorporate this into their classes at different times of the day, different times of the year, but we're making sure that all students are going to learn about what being a principled learner is this month. The 8th grade teachers, they also showed the students the list of the learning attributes, and they discussed the ones that the students were a little unfamiliar with or needed clarification on, and then they had a discussion using some like thought-provoking questions, like what do these look like in action? Which attribute do you feel is your strength and why? Where have you displayed this attribute? And the teachers reported back to us that they had some really meaningful discussions with the students. And again, we're making sure that these students have these discussions, all students, special education, regular education, everybody is having these discussions and participating in these activities, and they're basically going to become part of like our culture. That poster is also going to be in all of the classrooms, so the teachers can continue to reference that as the students are learning throughout the year. And what is to come besides the learning profile? Unit planning. So the teachers are really working hard together during our professional periods, during our after-school professional development sessions. During our professional periods, the teachers are working with their grade level colleagues. So they're kind of talking with teachers that teach other subjects, and that's really getting them to talk about the concepts that are being covered across disciplines. And so we're going to get more interdisciplinary learning this way. And then at the professional development sessions after school, the teachers are able to work with teachers that are also teaching the same subject, but maybe at a different grade level. So that's where we're going to get that vertical alignment of our curriculum. So we're working on unit planning and looking at it horizontally in the grade level, what each child is going to experience at that grade level, and then also vertically from year to year, how the students are growing and changing. The unit planning is very complex. IB requires a lot of different components in creating a unit plan, and we're trying to train the teachers on all of this new vocabulary and language of the IB. They're embracing it. The teachers that have gone out for training are working together with teachers that did not go out for training. We're seeing a lot of collaboration, a lot of positivity. Some of the new staff, even one of the new teachers, said she came to Putnam Valley Middle School because she saw we were an IB school and that we were doing the middle years program. She saw that and she was like, I want to work there, when she applied to come to the middle school. So I think it's a very positive atmosphere. The new staff is really excited to work with this program. As far as community awareness, we're starting small with our Student of the Month idea, where the parents come in and they hear about the learning profile through these awards that we're giving to the students, but we'll continue to have maybe information sessions like we had last year. And our goal is to become an authorized IB school in December of 2024, and we're going to work really hard for you this year to make sure that the teachers are trained and understand how to teach within this framework, but also teach the New York State standards. That was mentioned a little bit by Dave about the New York State standards. One of the programs we're using with our unit planning We've actually uploaded all of the New York State standards into our program, so they'll be looking at the IB objectives, but we'll also be looking at the New York State standards and making sure that that's what we're teaching to. So it's not like the New York standards are in one section and IB's in another section. Everything's inclusive, and that's what's great about this program, is that we can incorporate it all into the students' learning. Do you want to finish up?
The last thing to just finish off with, not only has conversation between teachers been extremely positive and collaborative, there was an example that Mary Kay spoke to me about today where Mr. Lathrop and Ms. Lum had a conversation where they were talking about what they could do in their language and lit class and then language acquisition class. Another instance where the students saw a connection was between Mr. Lathrop's class and Ms. Conlon's class, where a student actually came and said to Mrs. Conlon, "We were just talking about that in Mr. Lathrop's class." And it was an ATL skill. So the great thing that we are already seeing is the students are understanding the language, the teachers are embracing the language, and it's really creating a collaborative environment at the middle school. And the one thing about IB is it's not about the product, it's about the process. So we're not going to be perfect, but as we continue on our journey to becoming an MYP IB school, we just need to think about it's the process, not the product. So thank you.
Thank you very much. When I saw your poster, I thought, oh, thank goodness they made it child. Not that the high school one isn't great, but I was thinking you give this to middle school, it's like what? But I loved it. It was great. So you can see that it's been made accessible to them. Now, you guys have had IB you didn't start, did have IB classes in the high school when you were freshmen?
No.
Or
Yeah.
they didn't? So you had it for all 4 years, but not anything in the middle school. And I was going to ask you, like, when they were talking about research and that kind of thing, like if you'd had more of that in the middle school, would that have helped you at all? Like, do you see that might have given you a pathway that you didn't have?
Yeah, I think something that coming into the high school, especially as a sophomore and junior and senior primarily, that I saw with myself and many other of my fellow students was that you're not exactly prepared for how in-depth you have to go into a topic of your choosing, I think. And I think something that IB emphasizes is the research of that topic. And had I been better prepared previously, I would have been much better off in the classes that I'm taking today for that research process. Yeah.
Great. Kira?
I also agree, like, with all of the aspects of IB in the high school, we weren't really prepared for that in middle school, like, research-wise. Like, they tried to prepare us, like, our freshman and sophomore years of high school, but, like, junior year, like, especially for, like, IB candidates, where you have to work on the EE, the extended essay, and, like, actively research a topic of your choosing, like, that is something like we had never seen before. And so I think definitely if middle schoolers were introduced to that, it would be very beneficial.
Obviously, like, it's been a while since we've been in middle school. Also, like, keep in mind, like, we were, COVID hit when we were in 8th grade, so I don't really remember a lot from that time, to be honest with you. But it's really great to learn that they're continuing or starting IB early in the middle school. Because for our school, like, it starts junior and senior year, and although we have, like, some AP classes, like, you're kind of thrown into, like, a more rigorous curriculum with IB, and it's really great to know that, like, that's being started earlier, which I think is really important, so that the kids are interested in the program and they know a lot more about the program and the classes before they even get here. And I wish that, like, when we were in middle school, we have all these improvements, and yeah, I really like that.
I have good news for you.
You have to use you have to use those high school kids to
Yeah.
talk to the people in the middle school.
I have good news though, guys. So being that you are taking some IB classes, I know some students that have been through the IB program here in Putnam Valley High School, and they said they were so much more prepared when they went to college than their peers at college because they were forced to have that independent learning in high school in your junior and senior year. Your road in college is going to be much easier because of the rigor that you are putting yourself through in these younger years. So you're going to find college much easier to be successful because I've heard from people that went through the Putnam Valley High School IB program and that they feel college is just like it was in high school, and they can do it, where they see some of their college peers in shock at the amount of independent work that they have to do on their own. So you guys are going to be well prepared.
Just to add also, I think something that I've been seeing a lot recently is the different mindset and kind of values that are in AP versus IB classes. And I think when I was a sophomore, becoming a junior, ready to take some IB classes, that distinction was never really made because I didn't have that prerequisite knowledge. I just thought, it's 2 letters, 2 letters. It's the exact same class. It has to be the exact same thing, just another more advanced class. But the distinction is very, not severe, I think that's a strong word, but very apparent. And I think having that knowledge beforehand allows for a better development from AP to IB as a transitioning from a sophomore to a junior. So.
Great.
Sorry, I'm also going to add one last thing. Agreeing with Charlie there, at least for our grade, in the high school, we were never really, prepared, and I feel like the bringing IB to the middle school in a way will prepare them a lot more than we were prepared, because we were kind of just, what Charlie was saying, 2 letters, 2 letters, you thought it would be, a similar rigor level, but you get thrown into different IB courses, and, at the beginning, it's, you're, drowning. You don't you don't have enough, you didn't know what you were not getting yourself into, but what level it would be, especially even compared to AP or standard level classes, because there are only a few AP classes offered for freshmen and sophomores. So I definitely think that that when it's incorporated, it'll be a lot more beneficial and will help the students succeed more. If that makes sense.
Yeah, do you find that the attributes are guiding not just in school, in other aspects of your life? I mean, those attributes are not just geared towards education, they're geared towards life. You need to be principled in life, not just in your schoolwork, but in everything you do or whatever. So, yeah?
Yeah, I would just like to say, one of the primary attributes I think that is emphasized a lot in the IB course load is the concept of being an inquirer. I think that's something that is often repeated, and I think we have some great faculty here who actually emphasize that in the individual classes and push us to ask more questions, because I feel a lot in the middle school, at least for myself, and I know many of my peers, took many things at face value, especially now with the utilization of rapid growing technology. It's very easy just to see things at face value and not go further into that. But having the ability to actually look back and inquire into that is something very vital, I think, for students developing going into high school. Yeah.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Hold on real quick before you jump. I just want to thank you two all 4 of you, but thank you too, because we always like to hear from the administrators, but we especially like to hear from the teachers and the staff members. You always invited back, so whenever you have anything to share. So thank you for your time tonight. And I do have a question for Mr. McCarty, or I guess Siseka. The CBT assessments, is it only provided on computer in English, or is it provided in other languages?
It's provided, sorry, I'm cutting you right off. It's actually provided in multiple languages as well as in Braille. So any of our students who do need accessibility in a different language can have that. I believe there's a list of 40 different languages that we can utilize in order to provide our students the best opportunity to take those tests. Oh, and accommodations.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you both.
So I want to thank you both for your presentation and what has certainly been the smoothest opening of schools we've had in many years. So across all the grade levels, I think for the first time since maybe my first year in the superintendency, that things feel that we opened up pretty normally, smooth, and people are happy, and a huge kudos to all you do. For our student reps, I was wondering if we had any of the talent show videos from 4 years ago. But then I was wondering if that happened or not during COVID. So.
I mean, I think we brought it back, actually. I actually distinctly remember our student government brought that back to the middle school after having not had that for many years. And there are definitely some videos out there, embarrassing moments.
I'm going to have to talk to Ms. Sherwood and see what she can pull up. But I did have the opportunity to stop into, I want to speak a little bit about the middle years program. I did have an opportunity to stop into one of the planning meetings with our two coordinators, Ms. Eka, Mr. McCarty, and Jackie. And I just happened to stop by and say hello, and the meeting was going on, so I sat down, and I was so happy that I did when I left there, and just sensing the buy-in that the individuals in that room had, the passion they had for this, the belief that they had that this was right for our district and ultimately for our students. This is a very scary process, and I understand what a huge lift it is, and I was part of the implementation of the program at the high school when it was in its infancy, and knew how much work teachers and administrators and actually students had to put into making this a reality. So I know it's a daunting task, and I know it's one that our leadership team with our coordinators is certainly up to. So I did want to take an opportunity to thank you all for making what was a vision and an idea a reality for Putnam Valley. And I'm very much looking forward to us receiving our authorization next year. And I have the full confidence that we'll get there. So thank you, ladies, and thank you guys very much.
I had a couple of comments that I just wanted to make. Firstly, thanking both of you for your leadership and really thanking our teachers. My child has had a wonderful experience in all of the years that she's been there, including the ones in the pandemic. So thank you so much, because I know what goes on behind the scenes to be able to make that possible. So again, thank you. I did have a couple of questions about the CBT. I want to know a little bit more about how kids are going to be prepared to be able to use specifically the math equation editor, which is a new tool that they're probably not familiar with. What is that looking like? And then not only is the science test CBT this year as well, but it's a completely different science exam than what they're used to. So how are we preparing them for those two pieces?
Sure. So as we mentioned before, Mrs. Eck is going to training tomorrow. We've also had some practice sites that are online for our teachers to utilize in their classroom. The one nice thing about Putnam Valley is, I think we often forget, we had the first one-to-one laptop program back in 2004. And our kids have had these devices at their fingertips starting in 3rd grade, if not even earlier. Now, that doesn't mean it prepares them to take a CBT exam, but we've been doing our iReady benchmark assessments for the last 8 years, 9 years, and those are adaptive assessments that the kids take 3 times a year in addition to their paper-based state assessments. So again, it's not the exact format, but we have talked to BOCES, and BOCES had said, although there is a small learning curve, they haven't seen a drastic change in scores based on that transition from paper to computer-based. Know that the computer-based assessment has been around for the last several years. We've been hesitant to move to it for several reasons, which is why we're kind of slowly stepping into it. Know that when our kids do take the computer-based test, our other grade levels will be taking the paper-based test. So they will still be taking their assessments the same time of year and the same days of the year. It's just that slow rollout because we want to make sure that all of our technology, all of our bandwidth, all of our passwords, everything is set up appropriately. And using that online tool that you mentioned is something that kids have done in other programs like IXL math on their laptops. And again, they also have that practice piece, which is shared with our teachers thus far. So we have some things going for us, but again, until they take it, we'll then reflect. I think the science test for us, I remember sitting about, I'll say 8 years ago in a room with Ed Hallisey at the time and the science department, and we're like, this is coming, we're preparing for something that we've never seen before. And now it's here, so we're really curious to see what that looks like. I will tell you, our elementary school all the way up through 5th grade using Science 21, and then our 6th graders through 8th graders diving into the standards and talking about cross-cutting principles and working with David Jacob for Science 21 and working with our science department 6, 7, 8. We're going to have our kids prepared the best that we can, and then we're going to reflect on how that assessment goes, because the lab portions, they're responsible to have these lab investigations for 5th grade, 4 lab investigations, and then for 8th grade, 4 lab investigations. So that's new. So, it's like the state every year with unfunded mandates. Here, you're going to be required to do all this. Good luck, and let's see how it turns out. So we'll see what the first go-around looks like, and then we'll reflect and adapt on that. And I'm confident that our teachers will have our students prepared, because they go above and beyond every day, and they do tremendous work.
I do think, thank you for that. I think that moving towards an IB philosophy will actually help our students tremendously on that particular exam, because it is really a correlation of all subjects that they're learning on one piece of paper. They have to use math, they have to use their knowledge of social studies and science to be able to attack that exam, as well as their knowledge of literacy and how to didact information. So I think that all of those pieces that we're doing in IB are going to positively impact the students. The last, it's not a question, it's just a comment that I would make is, I went to an IB session last year at the high school just to learn about it. And it was a phenomenal session with teachers that really know what they're doing, and not only know what they're doing, really feel very passionately about how positive this program is. I think we can perhaps do a little bit more to share that information with families. I know that we've had the IB night at the middle school last year. We've done some things at the high school as well. But I think we need to continue to push the message of the skills that our students are going to be coming out with, for that very reason of when they go to college, it's not sink or swim. They're going to swim because they're ready. And while not every student, is meant to have an IB diploma, and that's totally fine, the skills and the strategies that they can learn in just experiencing some of those classes, I think, is invaluable. And I think we need to really just talk it up a little bit more, and perhaps provide some more informational sessions to parents that maybe couldn't go that one night, maybe provide a virtual night as well as an in-person night, just to make it a little bit more accessible.
Absolutely. We plan on doing that moving forward as well. We have to be careful because we're not authorized yet.
Right.
So we have to be careful with the logo and such. There's a bunch of ground rules, but our coordinators have been outstanding in working with our staff. The one thing that they highlighted is it's about the process and not the product. And one of the things as well with these new assessments, it's not about memorizing facts and details. It's about thinking things through and being inquirers and being risk takers and talking about the process, so that anything that's thrown at our students, they will be able to collaborate and think and determine and look at various pieces of evidence to then come up with a consensus on something. And I think that's what's so powerful about these new assessments. And again, it's not just that old memorization, it's thinking on your feet and using inferences and such to solve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can go home now.
Great job.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is board goals. Helen's not here tonight. I wondered whether you think we want to wait or get started, or?
I could start this piece. It's really just sort of our first reading.
Introduce it, and then we'll talk more later.
All right.
This will be, our board goals will be on as a resolution for the next meeting, so we can certainly take more time to review them next week as well. Next meeting as well. So welcome and good evening, everyone. I just wanted to share some of the backstory here. So this work and the establishment of our district goal is based upon work that begins really at the end of last school year, when we have our beginning of the summer retreats with the board and our administrators, and involves feedback from not only everyone here at the table, but as well as our entire administrative team. And it was pretty quick for us to reach the conclusion that the theme for this school year was going to be community, and community is one of the district's newly formed core values. And it's something that we think really represents the year that we came into. I think for the first time in many years, we feel as if this was a smooth, planned, COVID-free sort of opening, in which that was not sort of front and center in our minds. It was, we have 2 recently ratified contracts, so that was certainly a much more collegial way to begin the school year, and we really felt that this was an opportunity to reestablish who we are as a community and to show our strength as a school community. As anyone who's ever met me, I'm not a fan of 27 goals with 37 subsections of each goal. If the goal document is 15 pages long, nobody's ever going to know what they are. So I am a one goal kind of guy. So our goal for this year is community, building a community of reflective learners, empowered educators, engaged parents, all focused on making Putnam Valley a stronger school community. Now, this has been our theme since the Superintendent's Conference Day. This was the theme of our guest speaker, Jonathan Costa. It was the theme when I addressed all of the staff. It was the theme when Natalie addressed the staff, and it's really been the theme across each of our buildings, this idea of reestablishing ourselves as a school community. Now, what we did for align ourselves to this district goal was the district as a whole created some of the action items in which we plan to do to address or meet our district-wide goal. So these include things like opportunities to hear from students. I'm partnering with Mr. Mello, who formed a new student council. He calls it something cooler. Tiger, come on guys, help me.
Tiger,
Streak?
Streak.
Tiger Streak. He's got a funny name for everything. I can't keep track of it. I keep calling it student council, and he looks at me like I'm crazy, but he calls it the Tiger Streak. So I'll be working with students that are part of that group just as an opportunity to sort of meet and greet, to hear voices directly from the students. We're looking to expand our parent learning opportunities, other professional development, obviously continuing to find ways to communicate with our entire community, especially our Spanish-speaking households. Finding more ways to engage community has been a goal of ours for many years, through listening hours, through our parent engagement series, just opportunities to get parents back into the buildings and assuming an active role in their child's education. Emphasizing our newly established core values, and again, empowering our school community to be partners with us, including the approval of our annual budget. The high school, again, talks about the creation of the student leadership teams, creation of parent leadership teams, staff development. And Mr. Mello has his entire staff reading a book called Grading for Equity, and that's really starting building-wide conversations regarding our entire grading system here at the high school. And again, a focus on communication for parents, specifically parents whose home language may not be English. The middle school, there's an emphasis on mentoring our new teachers, obviously a huge emphasis on implementation of the middle years program, as well as guided reading, iReady instruction, and data analysis. A continued emphasis, you'll see the engagement of parents across all buildings, and the incorporation of the MTSS work that they spoke of earlier tonight. At the elementary school, again, more opportunities for parent engagement, parent curriculum nights, principal coffees, working with our PTA and the Education Foundation. Teacher-led professional development. We created a couple of new teacher-led teacher leadership positions at the elementary school. So teacher leaders are stepping up to help their colleagues in the classroom. Continued focus on the implementation of guided reading in our scholastic reading program, working on the structure of our RTI. Continuing all those wonderful traditions that make our elementary school, and obviously continuing to work with the building steering committee to guide our work and strengthen who we are as a school community. So obviously I didn't read them all, but this will be posted for feedback for anyone who has it. It's really just an opportunity for discussion right now, and then at the next board meeting, this will be up for a resolution for the board to approve these as our district goals. Thoughts? Questions?
I'm so excited to see that teacher leaders are being reestablished. That is awesome. Awesome. That is a really great way for districts to have that leadership capacity of people who are actually doing the work. It's a very different set of information that you get from a person who's actually living it and breathing it and helping somebody else to do the same. So super excited about that.
Me too. That's great. I mean, you saw two of them tonight. The power and the I'm trying to think what the word is, the energy that teachers, enthusiasm, right? That two teachers who do this for a living each and every day. I say all the time, it's like they bring street credit. Where if I bring in an outside consultant to come in and talk to teachers, it's of course the consultant thinks this, or of course the administrator who sits in the ivory tower thinks this. But to have your own teacher who's been working by your side year after year to go, you know what? You could do this, and here's how I do it in my classroom, and here's how we're going to do this together. That's profound, right? And the most impactful form of learning we can bestow upon our teachers. And I couldn't be more proud of the work our teacher leaders have done in the high school and now in the middle school, and certainly some of our newer ones at the elementary school. Any other comments, questions?
Good to go.
Does anybody want me to add 16 more goals?
No, but
I can if you want.
That's perfect.
in terms of board
No
goals,
more.
which are different and are not up there, is that an action item under, so district, high school, middle school, elementary school, board? Like, are we going to think of as a board, we will, and think of the things that we need to do and add that
I
to
think we
this
fall
document?
under district. Myself, I'm looking at those
board
district
goals are
items.
different.
Those are different, yeah.
Create new opportunities to hear directly from students. I mean, we're doing that. We have three young people here talking to us, and many of us attend events. You know, I look at the district items. We're the policymakers here. That's what we do. And most certainly, many of these factors and attributes we support. And I don't quite understand what you're asking, Barbara,
I think
quite frankly.
our board goals will be ones that we also, at the end of the year,
Our
rate
board
ourselves
goals
on,
are to
but-
make sure that
so
these
we can
goals
work
are
off of-
instituted.
yes, exactly, we can work off of these, but I
Yeah.
do think
But I
that
also
having
think
specific
there's-
board
I
goals,
agree.
holding ourselves accountable.
I agree.
Is very important.
We talked at our retreats about
Right.
better communication at meetings, better communication amongst each other. And we've
Transparency.
instituted some things, but we don't have they're not written down, and we don't have a check at the end of the year to say, so, how did we do? We didn't do so well with this. We need to do more of this, or we need to do less of this, or whatever. That's what I'm talking about, those kind of things that make the work that we do more coordinated and more public-facing, more, especially with the theme of community, since there's a sense that there's a, behind-the-scenes kind of thing going on here, that it's not. And how do we show the community that it's not?
Transparency.
That's right.
Really.
That's right.
Bottom
And-
line, transparency.
And that has become our goal, right, that we've talked about, right?
And that's what we need to write down.
And we need to write it down, because if it's not written down, it won't happen. And if you don't have a goal, and not only a goal, but a pathway to arrive to that goal that is monitored frequently to say we're moving towards this, or we're not, or we need to modify the goal, whatever it might be, we will never get better as a group as to what we are doing. So I am a firm believer in setting goals. I am a firm believer in building a pathway to get there. And for the accountability measures, we are the elected people in this town to be able to help our school district be the very best that it could be, and we have an accountability measure too, and I think that we have an accountability to the community.
Again, I'm looking at the district goals, and everything there. It should be what we support and firmly and strongly support.
Which we do.
You know,
Which we
empower the
do.
community
We do.
members, engage in school community by inviting input. That's our job, to hear what the parents have to say.
Well, one of
You
our
know,
goals
and oversee that.
was to revise policy. And nobody else can do that, and that's not going to be written there. So I think that that's something that needs to be reflected, because that's a lot of good work that you're doing.
Oh, yeah, well,
that
we're
our
doing that,
community
right. We're doing
should
that.
know about. You know, we're not just sitting here at a table, we're doing work behind the scenes. And that work speaks to many of the things on this page. I agree with you.
What I would
But I
ask
think they
then-
need
That
to be
happens like
defined.
Barbara
I think
does
it
with-
comes down to really documenting all the other things that are already happening, right? So some of the conversations we've had are things like more public discussion and discourse during public meetings, right? I say within the first 2 presentations of the 2 weeks we've had presentations, that's already been evident, right? There's been more feedback and conversation amongst the board and the presenters, but we don't necessarily have that written down anywhere. Transparency, right? Making sure that everything we do is understood, not just what the response was or the answer was, but the why behind it, right? But we should document that somewhere. Yes. Again, revising policy, that's something that's been my personal goals for many years, right? And it's something that we've made great leaps in already this year, but we should write it down because it's happening. And at the end of the year, it's a way for the board to hold themselves accountable for, this is what we set out to do at the beginning of the year, and this is where we are at the end of the year. So it's not to say that it's not the goals, it's not the work of the board to support all the district goals. I'm with you 100%. But I think really it comes down to, well, what else is there? Like, what are the other things the board hopes to accomplish that's not on this bulleted list? And let's find a way to capture those things.
Right, but so if you have a thought of one that we could add, so as a board, we will, and then send them to me, I'll coordinate them and send them back out. You guys, and then we can add it to this list and publish it. I think that would be good. It doesn't have to be a lot, even just 1 or 2, but I do think, like, we've made changes since I've been on the board, not necessarily due to me, just due to the makeup of the board, that have proved to be a good change, but because we didn't document them, they could get lost later. Like, I just think that we need to set them down and then check and be sure that we're doing them, because sometimes we don't. So anyway, so if you send them to me, I'll coordinate them and give them to Jeremy. So.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I transitioned over here to speed things up since I'm up next. I have to introduce myself.
All right, superintendent's report.
So I want to begin by echoing how we began the meeting by welcoming Reese, Charles, and Kira. I had the pleasure of meeting with them yesterday. I did my best not to terrify them. I did warn them that when they speak, the room will go quiet because everybody is really anxious and eager to hear the voice of the students. I appreciate all they've already offered to this meeting, and the more you're willing to respond, I think the more you'll find others deferring to you to get more information. So I very much appreciate the fact that all 3 of you have already participated in this meeting. I know we only met yesterday, so I was not going to put any pressure on you for a student report tonight. So I was putting a little pressure to have them sing the national anthem, but they shot me down. But again, welcome, congratulations, and I'm really looking forward to you guys being part of this team and really providing the perspective of all the students and finding and telling us how we can better support you guys, which is really your role. So thank you all. Okay. I attended the New York State Council of School Superintendents Conference. Some of the topics focused on AI, which still terrifies me, substantial equivalency, which thankfully we don't have any, and educational law updates. I was actually a guest panelist on the Learning Leadership Symposium for New York and New Jersey. Sounds like a lot. So the Learning Leadership Symposium is hosted by the Learning Council, which is a research institute and news media hub with over 300,000 readers. They provide context educators an ongoing analysis of trends and a deep understanding of new dynamics in technology, systems, school administration, and models. It was a very interesting opportunity. They had reached out to me over the summer. I almost forgot I had agreed to do it until it popped up on my calendar. But it's a room full of not only educators, but educational vendors, different companies that serve different sectors of education, and really led by this Learning Council, which focuses really on research and leadership development. So it was a very interesting experience. I'm very happy I did it. And they told me that I was in for next year, so I must have did okay. I had our chief school administrators retreat today. down at Edith Macy. Always a great opportunity to connect with the 18 superintendents from around our region. We did complete our most recent policy update. We reviewed the 4000 series, which is curriculum, PPS, and internet safety. It was quite the marathon, right, Sam?
I was going to say, really? You got the whole thing?
I think it's 100 and...
Yeah, we did the 4,000.
122 pages.
122 pages of policy.
Yeah.
If you guys ever want to get into educational leadership or policy development, might think twice.
It wasn't that bad, though, really.
It wasn't that bad.
You know, we worked together well.
This is what the community needs to know about.
Yeah.
That's it.
All of that time.
All that time. So our facilities committee had another meeting last evening. This meeting really focused on taking what was determined to be the priorities, project priorities developed by the committee, and we put some budgetary numbers to that. So our architect put some budgetary numbers to all the amazing things we would love to do. We just can't afford to do them all. And that really led to a conversation to begin to prioritize what are these projects that are the most valuable to us, offer us the greatest return on our investment, most directly impact our students. So those conversations are ongoing. Our next meeting will actually be a short turnaround time. We have our fiscal advisors coming in to meet with the committee to talk about all the nuanced financing that goes on, how they project aid ratios and interest rates and bond thingy-majiggies and other financial stuff I don't know anything about. So people way smarter than I in that stuff are going to come in and explain to the committee exactly where the numbers come up from. But the one agreement that we continue to make is that and that's if the board makes the decision to move forward with a project, any potential project will always be based on being tax neutral. So that was what we had promised last time. We had a project where we did all that wonderful work to the middle school right after you guys left. Sorry about that. But you got to enjoy the wellness center here, so that's cool. So that project as well replaced retiring debt. So we sort of reinvested our debt, kept it tax neutral, and were able to create these amazing spaces for students. That's the same principle for this one. So we would look to replace retiring debt to create new and safe and innovative spaces for students without increasing the tax burden on the community. So that is sort of our non-negotiable in terms of what would be presented to the board. Just some upcoming events. Wait, let's go up. Some events that happened. We had our elementary school flu vaccine clinic. I did not escort any students there. I still have students who will make eye contact with me after escorting them to the flu clinic a couple years ago, so I'm out. On October 1st, the Education Foundation held their color run. On October 5th, high school had their back to school night. And then we did our mandatory New York State Emergency Management Evacuation Drill on the 6th. Some upcoming events: a middle school book fair, October 17 through 19. High school financial aid night, 6 p.m. on October 18th. High school principal listening hour, October 24th, 6 p.m. October 25th, 6 p.m. Our elementary school first responder read aloud. I know there's a parent engagement thing going on that night too. The AI parent engagement is also on the 25th. 6th, 5th. You guys are
6:30.
confusing me. And that's it. So how are we doing so far, guys? Good?
Was
Is
your blood-
living up to all your expectations?
Was your blood drive today at the high school? How did that, I didn't see anybody. I mean, I just wondered how that went.
I think it was very successful. We hit our goal of donors. I don't know, you need like a specific amount of donors, and I think we doubled that on the sign-up sheet.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it was very successful. It's exciting to see a lot of people our age like get involved in that stuff because, you know, we're old enough to do it now. So that's cool to see people, you know, we're old enough to give blood.
Scary.
Yeah, I think it was very successful, and from I heard many comments that it was much better than last year's blood drive, as last year's blood drive was good and it went well, and we met a high number of donations, but just the environment and the atmosphere felt better as it was, just because of location change. Before it was in the blood truck, where that was my first time donating, not a great experience, but and now this time I was with more people that, you could see people, there was more lights, it's just, in general, a more well-rounded experience for the donor, I think.
I know that there's a real call for blood, really, they're desperate. And I started in high school at a blood drive, and I've given for years. Unfortunately, now I'm on a medication that they won't let me give. But every time I see the sign, I feel guilty because I really want to give, but they won't take it. So, I'm glad that other people are stepping up, and that's a great thing. So thank you for that work. Who does that? Who sponsors that?
It's sponsored by the National Honor Society.
Oh, National Honor Society, okay. And Jackie, you want to just talk about your parent learning thing? Because I think it's going to be so interesting, and I'm glad that you've got a guest with you, and
Yes.
Go ahead.
So my colleague Cameron, who's the assistant superintendent for Pleasantville, he is also a technology expert, especially in AI. He's doing a lot of work in this area. So I asked him to join me to lead a presentation for our parents, specifically about AI and how it relates to their children, not necessarily within the school context, but as children and socially. So we'll work together on developing that presentation. Actually, next week we're going to go over what we have, and we're really looking forward. It's going to be about an hour, and parents will have opportunities to ask questions that he and I will answer together.
And it's at the middle?
Yes, it'll be held at the middle school.
At the middle school?
Yes.
Okay.
And when is that again?
October
25th?
25th.
25th.
Yeah, 6:30 to 7:30.
Thank you.
I'll sit and listen to Matt for half an hour and shut off my computer and go to yours. Okay. All right, a new business. Let's do Resolution 1, please.
Okay. Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to appoint Jonathan Sorno to a probationary appointment as a school monitor effective October 10th, 2023, with a probationary period of 52 weeks, October 9th, 2024, at the middle school on Step 2 of the CSCA salary schedule.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. Number 2, please.
Resolved on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of Phyllis Conlin, a teacher from the district for the purpose of retirement, effective the close of business on June 30th, 2024, as per document number 7524, attached to the agenda and official minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Questions or comments?
So I do want to recognize the many years of dedicated service that Phyllis has provided to the school district. I know throughout the year we'll have opportunities to celebrate all of her lasts, and certainly in the spring when we recognize our retirees, she'll be given another opportunity to have some words said about her, but I do want to recognize this was an especially sad one for me. When teachers just pop in my office and ask if they can talk and close the door, I sense what's coming. There's an envelope in their hand. So I've had a very good relationship with Phyllis for many years, and I know that many in Putnam Valley and across the community really have those same relationships with her. So she'll be deeply missed and impossible to replace. Thank you.
I just want to add on to that. It's a huge loss for Putnam Valley, but I'm so happy for Mrs. Conlin and what she has to look forward to. But it will leave a big hole, and I do appreciate the years of service she gave to the district.
I was on the interviewing committee at the time when we hired Ms. Conlon. She's been a fantastic asset to the district and will be very sorely missed.
I'm lucky that my daughter has her now. And so we get 1 year with Miss Conlon, and we're very grateful for that. She's one of Vivian's favorite teachers, so she'll be missed.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The resolution passes. I'd like to open it up for public comment on any topic.
So again, my name is Miranda Zaki. I have a first grader and a ninth grader. First and foremost, I want to thank the students for the blood drive today. 30 years of transfusing people that would die without that blood. Truly amazing. I wish you could see the other side. And I want to thank Crystal and Sam for your work toward parent transparency for both us as parents and our tax-paying community. Thank you so much for recognizing that we needed that. So, one of the things that I wanted to come and talk about tonight is academic study periods. So I know students have 2 periods in the high school. It's 15 minutes before lunch, and then I believe at the end of the day. And I've asked multiple students, what do you do in academic? You know, after I went to the parent thing last week, what do you do in academic studies? Well, I'm not going to talk about what they do in academic studies, but I think, personally, we could really, truly utilize that 30 minutes a day for educational purposes. It could be spent talking about current events, maybe. It could be spent as a class discussion with the students, even for 15 minutes. That's very valuable time. Every minute counts. On days like tomorrow, they have 2 academic study classes, 15 minutes before lunch, 15 minutes at the end of the day. Maybe if the school could provide poster boards or something, they can do something for the homecoming football team. Tomorrow, we can encourage the students to do productive things. I don't know. It's a problem, and I'm trying to help you find a solution to that problem. My second reason for coming tonight was to follow up on a couple of community questions that came up in a meeting about a month ago. I didn't make it to the last Board of Ed meeting. It was questions 1 and 2 from September 14th. So question 1, the community was asking for justification of the new contract for Dr. Luft, and also, why was this contract rushed by our Board of Education in May, just prior to elections, and finalized in August, when it was not expired for over a year to come? My third question is, did you, Dr. Luft, did you get approval from our Board of Education for donation of pocket constitutions to be distributed to 8th graders? The 917 Society is a society, it's a non-profit organization, and they are distributing all across America pocket constitutions to 8th graders. It's a society that is dedicated to empowering our next generation of American citizens to be responsible with knowledge and understanding of their rights as productive citizens. You can Google, you can research, but we are fortunate to have enough for each of our 8th graders, and I know there was an email that Moms for Liberty sent to Dr. Luft, and he said he would present it to the Board of Education and answer back. We haven't got our email back yet with yes or no. I guess you guys can do some research on that and see if it's something that we could instill in our school. And one more question from the community. This, I haven't been able to do research. I just received this at 4 o'clock today from a mom in our community. Can you explain the increase in the number of students that are transferring from the Lakeland School District community? Children that went to Copper Beach are entering our school district. They do not live in Putnam Valley. They were not, as far, it's not my research, so I haven't looked into it, but as far as this mom knows, they do not live in our community. 2 students 3 weeks ago, and today another student came. Do you know anything about that situation?
Are we finished? Because I can do it.
Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you for coming to speak. The academic study piece, I'm all for you in maximizing the amount of instructional time our students have. The reality is academic study it's a very fancy name for study hall, as I'm sure it was called when you and I were both in school. Obviously, we run into contractual language issues, right? For the teachers who supervise the students during that time, it's considered non-instructional time. So there are limitations regarding what we can ask them to do, but I am all for any conversations in which we can work to maximize the usefulness of that time. And I do want to comment that there's many teachers, even those who are not assigned to those academic studies, that make themselves available for students to perform extra help, because the student may not have a teacher that they even see during the day, during that period of time. And there's many, many teachers, especially here at the high school, that make themselves available to those students where they can leave academic study and go seek extra help. So I would encourage any student who's in an academic study to reach out to their teachers to see if they're offering extra help during that time, and that would certainly be the probably most productive use of that time. I'll leave the justification of my contract up to someone else. I did respond to the pocket constitutions. I have no issues with it at all. I did request that one be dropped off so it could be reviewed. That's what I'm waiting for. So as soon as one's dropped off, I just want to be able to share it with the board so everyone's aware as to what they're being asked to accept the donation. So once that happens, I'd be happy to put it before the board to accept the donation of the pocket constitutions. Again, I have no issue with that at all. For any student who comes to Putnam Valley, they go through an extensive residency process. They have to show proof of residency. There are multiple types of documentation that they have to provide. I would encourage anyone, if they know of someone who does not live in this community, that there is a process. They can contact our registrar, Alicia Hunter, or they can contact Dr. Doherty, who oversees Alicia. There's certainly a process in place, and there's mechanisms we use to ensure that those who say they're living here prove that they're living here. So that's something that all school districts in New York State have set up. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Want to add anything, Natalie?
No, I think that if anybody has information, we certainly can take their information and go through a process that we go through. There's Danielle and Alicia in the district office. Anybody can contact them or directly contact me. We take it very seriously.
I'll do further research into that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I'd also like to say it's one of our board goals to respond to questions and comments from the community. We don't always have the information at our fingertips right here. We can't always answer it directly at a board meeting. I did respond to your 4 questions at the last board meeting. You can watch that meeting, and they referenced other board meetings where I have discussed those items. So you can research that so that we don't have to just keep going over and over the same thing. It's a valid question, but the questions have been answered. But I can get that to you too.
I am so sorry. I did not hear any answers to that specific question.
I answered all 4 of yours. So
Okay, I will review.
Thank you.
And then we'll get back to you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Any other public comments? Okay, upcoming meetings, topics, presentations. We're going to do the high school next, right?
Right.
Next.
October 24th will be our high school opening of schools update. And then the following meeting, November 16th, will be buildings and grounds and our technology updates. So those are the next 2 meetings. If you guys have any really difficult questions, you want to start writing them down now. Next meeting is your chance to grill Mr. Mello and Dr. Payne. So.
And you can always pass them to us. You can always pass them to us and we can read them so they're anonymous. No, there will be. They're always exciting, the presentations.
I may ask you to rank how well he did on like a scale of 1 to 10. So we're going to take notes as he's presenting.
Reese, you're in the upcoming play?
Yes.
Could you give us a quick overview of when tickets are going to be available and when the play itself will occur?
So the 2023 TheaterWorks Fall Drama is The Play That Goes Wrong. I don't have information about ticket sales, but this weekend signs will be put around, posters will be put around Putnam Valley, local businesses and stuff like that, and surrounding towns too.
I think it's November 4th and 5th, is that correct?
The play is the 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
3rd, 4th, and 5th.
That's when the actual play is.
Right.
I don't know when the tickets go on sale, though.
Yeah, so on the posters that are around town and surrounding towns, there's a QR code that you can scan to buy tickets. So I'm guessing they're up on sale now.
Okay.
Are they going to do it for the senior? Are they going to do a dress rehearsal?
Yeah, usually we do have a senior citizen dress rehearsal on.
I know with
Thursday.
COVID we stopped, and I wasn't sure whether it was back.
I believe, like, yeah, we've been doing it the past 3 years. Yeah, we've had that consistently.
Okay.
And I believe, to the best of my knowledge, this is just off the top of my head, I believe ticket sales go public on the 18th of October.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, are you going to be in a play as well?
Yes.
All three of you, or?
No, just Charlie.
She's going to sit in the audience, clap, with the rest of us.
Outstanding.
Well, that's
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Board member comments on any topic? I will say I did the training for the NISBA conference, which took about an hour, which is short compared to the 6 hours it's going to be next Monday. But we got it all straight. We know how to raise our hands. We know how to give our input, output, whatever, and then vote. So I'm ready. I just got to figure a chair to sit in that I can sit there for 6 hours without getting a crink in my neck. Anyway, the regional dinner, which is really sponsored by the Superintendent's Association, but also by Westchester Putnam School Boards Association, Rockland School Boards Association, Orange County, I think. There's a couple other ones. Jackie and Dr. Luft and I and Crystal are going to go to represent Putnam Valley. They're going to talk about unleashing assessment potential, about how can we use performance-based assessments to tell whether our kids are really learning rather than just straight paper and pencil, fill in the dots kind of thing. So it should be pretty exciting and give a window into, how New York is moving towards performance-based assessments. So I think it'll be really interesting. That's all I have.
Jackie, Sam, and I had the honor of attending the, I want to say it's not Color Wars, Color Run a couple weeks ago. Sam chose not to get dirty. Jackie and I went home yellow, so we had a lot of fun, and the Education Foundation does a great job putting that together, and great cause. All the money goes back to our schools, so even if you were not able to participate, always willing to take donations to support that. So.
And I believe they have the trunk or treat coming up on the 29th of October at 2 p.m. in the parking lot here at the middle school, high school.
Sam chickened out. We tried to get him to
I
color,
was an
but he
observer
chose
this
not
year.
to.
I'd never been to one before. Yeah, next year I'll participate. It doesn't look that bad. You just kind of scoop the powder out and throw it up in the air as
Yeah,
they
that's it.
run
That's all you
by.
have to do.
It was pretty neat, yeah.
Okay.
Usually there's a Luft boy harassing poor Nina Esposito. This is the first year we weren't able to make it. And Nina actually called me during the event and wanted to know where Jakey was. We have some pretty epic photos of the two of them chasing each other around with colors. So.
Okay, anything else? See, you survived your first meeting. Do you have are you gonna do you have a plan, like how to cover sports, play, other activities, and board meetings?
In other words, if someone's occupied, do you have coverage so that at least one or all of you are here at our meetings? Because it's great when you're all present.
Okay.
I think it's a work in progress. We had discussed it when we met yesterday. They're trying to coordinate schedules and to figure out it. They're all three are welcome if they can, but
Definitely.
obviously they have very busy lives, so as many as we can get, we'll take each meeting. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you for coming.
I'd also like you to think, as the year goes on, it's one of my personal goals to get the student board reps in May, so they can hear from you who've just done it about what it's like, so that they're not kind of thrown in I don't know if I want to do this. There's also some great summer opportunities to learn about student advocacy at a board table that are given virtually online, just because I think then, you know, that I think there's more consistency rather than waiting until September, October, before, and then, you know, new people. So, but as it goes, you may say, you know what, this worked really well, and leave it alone, let it work the way it is. So I'm going to ask you to kind of keep that in your mind, so as we get towards April, May, when we start to talk about it, you can give me your input.
So we spoke a little bit about that yesterday as well. I keep saying yesterday. Was it even yesterday? It might have been 2 days ago. It was,
You're not
yesterday. It was
correcting
yesterday.
me. It was Monday,
Sorry.
so.
It was yesterday. Sorry. I lost track. But we did, Mr. Scampoli was there as well, so we did talk about, I would love the opportunity to have these three go back to the student government and say, this is what we learned, this is what it was like, this is what I enjoyed, this was maybe not what I enjoyed so much, but by allowing these individuals to graduate and then to start fresh is very difficult for the incoming student reps to really understand what it is. So we had started a conversation yesterday regarding the possibility of, we know who next year's seniors will be, so let's have a conversation in the spring when you have 3 student reps that can speak firsthand to what it's all about, and then hopefully elect the next year's student reps at the end of this school year, and then they afforded the opportunity to participate in some of these summer events. We won't make them come to any summer board meetings, that might be a deterrent, but they can participate in sort of professional development.
And if there are things that you think of during the year that would make it, either that make it uncomfortable, that you'd like, oh, really, it's going to be hard to get volunteers if this is the way you handle it. You know, like if you bring those to us, we can adapt. So if there's things that we can do to make your service go smoothly, you know, we'd like to hear about it. So you can always come to us anonymously. You can shoot me an anonymous email. Anyway, okay, thank you for being here and for volunteering. I hope none of you have like twisted arms or.
There was more. How many students? There was there was more students interested than they were elected, right?
Oh, great.
Yeah, I think there was like around 7 people that submitted for this.
Awesome. Yay. Must be doing something right. Check. Okay. I'd like a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, and thank you very much.